We are set. Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to today's webinar presentation. I hope everyone is fine today. We are still in the Easter spirit. So welcome, everyone. I can see our students are already coming online, and I can see Bernard, okay, Anthony, Abu Isioma, Edwin Aguda, Folake, Abu Isioma, you guys are welcome. Welcome, welcome. I can see everyone are coming in gradually. So nice to see you and nice to have you with us today. I believe that today's webinar event is going to help us in different ways as regards to the current pandemic situation and different ways of surviving to ensure that we are all in operation regardless. So without wasting much time, permit me to introduce our moderator. Before I go on, my name is Christopher Edusi. I'm with the Career Services Center of Rome Business School, Nigeria. So moving ahead to introduce our moderator, permit me to introduce Ona Amuchezi. She's a proud lioness of University of Nigeria, Nsukka, an alumni of Imperial College London and Lagos Business School, Nigeria. She's an advocate for continuous learning and development in the industry. Ona is an experienced professional with over 20 years in the banking sector industry, and she has expertise in correspondence banking, project finance, international trade, structured finance, treasury operations, capital raising, and advisory service. She is a published author. Currently, she is the director of Kelora Integrated Resources Limited, a financial services firm in VI Lagos. So we are glad to have you join us in today's webinar session. Ona, are you here with us?
Yes, thank you, Chris.
Well, thank you so much for joining us. You're looking wonderful, by the way.
Thank you very much, Chris. Very kind of you. Thank you.
Yeah, so you're welcome.
Yes.
You have the floor.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. It's a pleasure to join you today on this webinar. And essentially, we want to talk about a brief about SMEs. Why SMEs? SMEs here, every time people like this, it's not really a buzzword, but it's because of the nature of the businesses and the services they provide. They make up and actually employ a good number of people in most countries. So it's important that we learn and assist them with their strategies. It's not as if they don't know, but how can we improve it? What is a strategy? Simply something that will enable you achieve your aim. How do you go right or left? So today, facilitating this webinar is Mr. Anthony Musu. I mean, who could be a better person to speak on this? Anthony is a very versatile finance professional. Yeah, he's one of the most sought after treasury traders, trading in dual currency pairs. He actually has an MBA from University of Leicester and consults for Commonwealth Business Council and the Nigerian Economic Summit Group. He also worked in a number of banks, Keystone Bank, Bank PHB, Diamond Bank, specializing in treasury, corporate banking, financial institution, and commercial, with a focus on grooming SMEs. So he's one of the, I think he's the correct person or the apt person or one of the best resource persons we can find for this presentation today. Anthony? Anthony? Can you hear me, Anthony?
Thank you, Ona. Can you hear me now?
Take it up, yes, take it up, take it up. I mean,
yes, we can hear you.
Am I quite audible to everybody?
Yes, you are, please.
Thank you very much, Ona, for the
introduction. Yes, very audible.
Thank you very much, Ona, for the introduction. Good day, everybody. I'm glad to be here today. It's a significant day, the last day of the first quarter of 2021. Very easy to remember. So we welcome you to this session, which is basically on repositioning for survival. As I share my screen, you will see our topic. So I will go straight to business because we have essentially 60 quality minutes to spend with you all. Share screen. Share screen. Okay, I would like to find out if everyone can see the screen now.
Yes, we can see your screen, sir.
Yes, we can.
Okay, so we just move ahead. All right, the topic is right there in front of us, repositioning for survival, strategies for SMEs in the COVID era. We're looking at the Nigerian scenario. I would like to share a personal mantra with everyone, which is seen on my screen now. For those like me who are fans of Franklin Covey, one of his 7 habits is begin with the end in mind. And why I put up this on my slide is because time is one of the most important resources. We have been given an hour to look into these strategies. And I want everyone to cast their minds that at the end of this session, I'm going to have something as a take home to learn to better my business in this particular terrain of the pandemic, or to teach the next person how to better his business. So please, as we all look at the screen and go through this session with myself and every other person tuned in now, cast your mind to the end of this session and ask yourself, as I start this session, I'm going to have a take home at the end. Let's first look at the effects of the pandemic. Generally, it sounds very easy to say the pandemic had a very bad effect. But as at yesterday, someone still asked me, and I'm talking about a learned person, someone who works in a financial institution, boss, is this COVID still real? What that question shows is some people have still not understand the major effects of the pandemic in both Nigeria and the globe. The pandemic started in the first quarter of 2020. And what did we see when it started? Reduction in customer spending power. The markets became very harsh. Now, this caused very unique changes in the entire economy, both globally and in Nigeria, especially as it affects SMEs. Now, what is the outlook for SMEs in Nigeria? 2 major things: careful and strategic recovery after the 2020, which we all know was characterized by lockdowns, especially in Q2 and in Q3. And I'll repeat it again: careful and strategic recovery. We also saw movement of staff, production had its hiccups, import and export had their hiccups. We all know that Nigeria is still highly dependent on importation. And of course, once transport was cut, once the airwaves and the shipments were cut, it affected the imports in Nigeria. Still talking on the effects of the pandemic, the Nigerian government was not sleeping. They brought about policies in place to try to protect the SMEs from surviving because of the consequence of the pandemic. But from general consensus, we observed that most of the responses to the virus were health-centered. We all know, of course, that health comes first. Some will say safety first. But while the government and others were skewing towards ensuring that everybody's health was okay, the business side of SMEs also suffered significantly. There was increase in cost of production, there was increase in cost of distribution, there were pressures on the supply chain. But we have to keep one thing in mind. As much as we try to curtail the effects of this pandemic, remember that even after the pandemic is over, the effects are still going to persist for quite a while. Now, it is necessary for all of us to understand that what we are doing today is to learn, is to imbibe cultures, is to bring about strategies that will help us to stabilize and sustain such enterprises in Nigeria. Now, what are the effects of the pandemic in Nigeria in 2020? Let's just summarize them. The oil market collapsed, and knowing that the oil is Nigeria's mainstay, when it collapsed, 50% of the government's revenue was eroded. Domestic activities were ground to a halt, especially in commercial nerve centers of Nigeria, like Lagos, Abuja, Onitsha, Kano, and cities like that. The central bank devalued the Naira official rate, which also affected the I&E window. The central bank launched various intervention programs like slashing of the monetary policy rates by about 100 basis points, and also bringing about some stimulus packages. The pump price of petrol was somewhat deregulated. Electricity tariffs were hiked up. Land borders were closed. Inflation hit the high of 15.75% in December 2020, which was the highest in the last 3 years, between 2018, 2019, and 2020. Despite all of this, the economy slipped into a recession. Now, every day we hear about recessions. What really is a recession? A recession is an extreme low period of industrial activities, commercial activities, trade activities, generally an extreme low period of economic activities characterized by 2 consecutive quarters of drop in expected GDP. So if you look at the definition I just gave of a recession and cast your minds back to 2020, there was low economic activities, there was low industrial activities, and generally low economic activities within 2 quarters, Q2 and Q3. That shows that we entered a recession. What is the outlook for 2021? In 2021, we expect the GDP to rebound to about 2% due to 2 major things: expected increase in economic activity after the lockdown, and improvement on the oil price, of course, since trading started again, the vessels in the high seas started moving, and borders were open. There was the reopening of the Nigerian land borders in November 2020. What we expect is an ease of the food prices. We also expect the headline inflation to come down. But before then, we expect headline inflation to hit about 16%, and then it starts to descend slowly. However, let us keep in mind that there are other structural factors like FX illiquidity, which is very glaring, and a potential petrol pump price increase. These may also keep food prices of things high. If we cast our minds back to a few weeks ago, you will remember that there was an increase in pump price up to 212 Naira, which lasted between 24 and 48 hours, and it was reversed back to about 162 Naira. Now, imagine that pump price hits 212 today. Definitely, prices of commodities, food, and other things in the baskets, in the economic basket, will not remain the same. As we get closer to our main business of the day, which is the strategies for repositioning the SMEs, let us look at what SMEs are, so that all those who are tuned in can also look at themselves and say, fine, I actually do fit into the description of an SME. We took 2 definitions, an international definition, one from the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, of which Nigeria is a member, and an indigenous definition from the Central Bank of Nigeria. Both definitions, if you look at them, revolve around size and financial variables. The OECD defined SMEs as non-subsidiary independent firms which employ less than a few number of employees. Then they also define them as enterprises with certain financial assets, using the turnovers, the assets they have, the capital, and all of that. The Central Bank of Nigeria directly defined SMEs as businesses with less than 300 employees and businesses with less than 100 million turnover per annum. Now, why are we focusing on SMEs? Simple. SMEs form the largest number of businesses. We took a sample size and looked at studies that have been done across the world. It shows that SMEs in Nigeria form 96% of the businesses. In the US, SMEs form 53% of the businesses. In Europe, they form 65% of the businesses, while in Asia, they form well over 90% of the businesses. So of course, there's no reason why we shouldn't be discussing SMEs. They are the most valuable sectors in the Nigerian economy, and therefore they contribute the largest figure to the GDP of the country. Of course, within this period of the pandemic, there was expected responses from the government to help the SMEs to curb the negative effects of the pandemic. The players expected financial relief, tax relief, easing of maybe your terms in terms of those that have facilities in the banks to help them. But there's a general consensus that the government did not do enough. Now, in this period of the pandemic, we know that SMEs face certain risks. We have 6 risks on my screen, which are not particularly exhaustive, but every other risk seems to revolve around these 6 risks. We have the financial risk, strategic risk, reputation risk, business interruption risk, security risk, and foreign exchange risk. Now, let's start with the financial risks. I'm sure that everybody tuned in today who has a business or is managing a business knows that the financial risk is one of the most important to look after. Remember, there is no profitability without liquidity. So the first thing you look out for in a business is the blood of the business, which is the liquidity. It's only a business that stands that can talk about profitability. So in this COVID era, it is a priority that every business will adequately check their liquidity and their cash flows. Then we have the strategic risk. Remember that the environment has shifted. Like some people will say, the cheese has moved. If you don't move with the cheese, there's nothing you can chew. You have strategies in 2020 to meet certain targets in terms of maybe profitability, maybe in terms of customer base. But the minute COVID came about, the minute the pandemic started and there were various effects, the economy changed, the environment changed. So you have to go back to your strategy and look at the risks you face by holding and using the old strategies instead of the new strategies that suit the ongoing pandemic. Now we look at the reputation risk. We know that without reputation, the company is dead. Like some people say, if you do not take care of your reputation, you may end up doing damage control for the rest of the period. So it is very important that the risk faced by organizations this period is looked into. Imagine if a customer walked into a big organization and walked in there without seeing anybody with a temperature gauge to check the person, the thermometer. No sanitizers, no soap for washing your hand. All the person needs to do is send out a chat and tell the next person, can you imagine I went to this company? There was not even a single health thing or any health aspect to show that these people are concerned about the pandemic and the spread. That one chat can be disseminated to 50 people and your reputation is damaged. So you have to watch your reputation risk within this period. The business interruption risk is another very important one. And within the business interruption risk, look at the channels, the business channels. There is the supply channel, the demand channel, and the financial channels. Cast your mind back to 2020 when the pandemic started. And imagine people like supermarkets. There was no supply to them at that point in time. So it was a risk to their business. The demand then changed. Most customers, most consumers, we are now demanding for essentials to survive. There were hardly any commodities or any products that were bought that were not essentials. Anything at that point in time that was a luxury good was forgotten about. Most clothes were not bought because people were not going out, people were not going for parties. So obviously the fashion industry suffered. So imagine that there was no demand for such things. It affects your business at that point in time. And then the financial channels kind of closed down. The banks are not giving facilities. The finance houses are not giving facilities. So everybody had to watch the risk in that distribution, those channels, the supply channel, the demand channel, and the financial channels. Each business was affected by this interruption risk. Then we look at, it's not going down, sorry. No, it's not moving. Trying to move my slides. Okay. Now let's look at the security risks and the foreign exchange risks. For security risks, we all know that everybody went the way of technology. And at that point in time, in 2020, there was a high report of cybercrime. So most companies that went high-tech into the technology world, who went online for their shoppings, for their transactions like banks, had to look into security risks. So you have people logging in, you find the system asking them for passwords, to reconfirm the passwords, to reconfirm using your phone number. All these were risks that had to be averted or mitigated based on cyber crimes. Then the almighty foreign exchange risks. We don't need to talk too much about this. There have been fluctuations in the foreign exchange in Nigeria between the Naira and the dollar. Even before the pandemic, the central bank was trying to bring about monetary policies to try to provide more in terms of foreign exchange, especially for customers who had opened up letters of credit and other banking instruments to import their products. They had made sales and they had to buy back dollars to pay back and meet their obligations. You can see that recently, there was already devaluation of the exchange rate from the 380 levels to 410. This is a very obvious risk that every business had to look into within this pandemic period. Now, let's go into the main business of the day. Having discussed why we are going into SMEs, what SMEs are, and looking at the risks that SMEs have faced, let us now look at the strategies for survival so that these SMEs can be repositioned and be sustained. We look at to reevaluate your existing strategies. This is very major because without strategies, an organization cannot start their business for the year. Everybody sits down to strategize. So you reevaluate your existing strategies, you focus on your financial position, you invest in technology, you consider outsourcing also, maintain and retain your customer base, and also diversify. How can I move this way? I want to take out this mic. Yes. Can I move this way? Okay, let's look at reevaluating. Let's look at reevaluating our existing strategy. Okay. As I earlier said, every organization has a strategy to run for the year from Q1 to Q4. The pandemic has come in 2020 and we're in 2021 now. The question is, are you going to work with the same old strategies, or are you going to look at what is happening in the economy and bring about strategies that are going to suit the prevailing circumstance? You need to reevaluate your strategies. If your strategy was about getting customers by going out to see those customers, unfortunately, not all customers are going out. So you have to reevaluate your strategies, reevaluate the financial strategies, reevaluate your administration strategies, reevaluate every strategy in your business. Because the minute you get your strategy wrong, you started failing from the beginning. Now, let us focus on the main issue, which is the financial position. Focus on your financial position. You must focus as an MD CEO. You must scrutinize. You must have clear oversight of your financial position. Like I earlier said, there is no profitability without liquidity. If you do not focus on your financials, you are going to run out of the financial blood, which is liquidity. Now, it is advised that you keep a strategy whereby your cash flow is reviewed on a daily basis. MDs, CEOs of SMEs, it is important not just for the chief finance officer or the executive director of finance or the accountant or the general manager. You as the MD CEO, call them to bring the cash flow, send it by mail, discuss it with them. Where did 1 million go to? Who took 300,000? What happened to this? What happened to that? You will find out that with a careful scrutiny of your cash flow, you will definitely detect wastages. You will definitely identify leakages. Now, your profitability, which is usually reviewed monthly or quarterly, please, 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 as an SME in these periods, review your profitability weekly. Every Monday, there should be a profitability report right in front of you. Discuss this proactively with your finance person, be it the ED finance or the chief finance officer. It keeps every staff on their toes when they know that the CEO is watching profitability. It is so easy that if you know your profitability is X in 1 week, you can extrapolate for the next 4 weeks and for the next quarter. Go to your service suppliers. Go to your banks. Go to the people that give you financing. Renegotiate your terms. Renegotiate the terms that are given to you on your offers and the terms you are running with. It is important to know that even the financial services are waiting for you to come to them to discuss this. Those that have facilities that were for 1 year, go and negotiate 2 or 3 years. Negotiate moratorium periods. Those that have facilities at 22%, go and renegotiate to 15% and below, anything sub 20 or sub 15. For any terms that are not very good for you at that point in time, it is known globally that conditions in 2021 and 2020 are not the same conditions in 2019. Therefore, it is advised that you go back to your service suppliers in any form and renegotiate any terms that you have. This will definitely help your financials because we are not at the ordinary times. The economy has changed, the outlook has changed, and definitely your terms for your financials have to change. Now, go and review your strategic business partnership. We all heard recently that Kuda brought in $25 million. Flutterwave has also inflowed funds for their businesses. These are companies thinking outside the box. Look for strategic business partners who have the liquidity. Get new equity holders. Get venture capitalists that will inject funds into your business. Look, the banks are just one source of funding. And remember, the banks are also organizations. The financial services people are also organizations. The finance houses are also organizations. The microfinance banks are also organizations. They also have to watch their profitability, just like you're watching your profitability as an SME. Therefore, they have already done their credit appraisals, economic outlooks, and done their feasibility studies, and already know how much they can give out in terms of loans so that they can watch their balance sheet size to manage their assets and their liabilities. So while looking to them, also look out for investors who will inject funds to your businesses. Like I said, aside Flutterwave and Kuda, other businesses have inflowed money and expanded their businesses in various sectors, be it agriculture, be it manufacturing, be it in the information technology, be it in oil and gas. Remember, Africa is still a beautiful bride. If you look at the returns in Europe and the US that are between 1% and 5%, and you come into Africa, you can get returns that are even double digits and not single digits. So there are people that have this financing, both home and abroad, who are looking for viable places to invest them. Do you want to invest in treasury bills? Do you want to invest in fixed deposits? What percentage are you going to get? What returns are you going to get? Is it 2.5%? Is it 3.5%? If an investor finds out that he's better off putting money in your SME as an equity holder, or a venture capitalist is willing to invest for 5 years, they will definitely put their funds, inject their funds into your business and not go the way of treasury bills and other financial instruments. Now, while we are still on our financial position, it is important that all SMEs, MDs, CEOs, they are all tuned into this session. Please and please always seek information. Information is power. Seek for changes in government policies. Seek for changes in CBN policies. I will give a live example. A customer called me last month and had to make a payment. The customer went to the Bureau de Change, authorized Bureau de Change, bought dollars, about $10,000, put in their account, and went as a domiciliary account deposit. They went to the bank and filled a transfer form to transfer the funds to a beneficiary offshore. And what happened? The bank told them that the policy is that when you do a domiciliary account deposit, you cannot wire it as electronic funds. What happened? That business could not meet their obligation for that day. Why? Because they did not seek information. They did not know that there were policies changing. Please, business owners, talk to your bankers. Talk to those that can give you information. Call them and ask, what are the changing policies in the government, especially the monetary policies and different changes? Remember, the government has tried to bring about stimulus packages, which they have distributed through other institutions like NERSA. I will come more into this, but to be more specific, there are banks that we know today, a lot of banks, where customers surged to them during the pandemic. Some got moratorium periods, some got other terms shifted for them to help ease the financial stress and the economic tightness that they had. And after some time, the banks directed them to NERSA Microfinance Bank. NERSA Microfinance Bank is skewed towards agricultural loans, but the government has given them authority to disburse loans as on lending to SMEs. So I know a number of customers who went to the banks and were directed to NERSA. These customers sought information. They found out the project, the new policies that government was bringing about, and this helps them. A number of them collected 5 million, 10 million for their businesses, and they are better off today. Why? Because they looked and searched for information. This is very key, please. CEOs, MDs, business caretakers, CFOs, seek for information, check your banks, call your account officers, call your bank managers, sit down with them, let them give you a list of every policy that affects your business, and this will help you strategizing for your financials. Now, very glaringly, we know that in the pandemic period, you must invest in technology. For all those business owners who used to budget 20,000 for data, who used to budget 30,000 for technology, this is the time to increase your budget expense on technology. The world has gone tech. Advertise your products on social media. Go to Instagram handles, go to Twitter, go to Facebook, go to LinkedIn. Advertise these products. Yes, the billboards are there, but how many people are driving and watching those billboards? One message sent of your product on a hashtag will give you 100,000 followers, and they're going to look into that product. Use technology. Invest more in technology this period. So start tweaking your financial expenses weekly or monthly. Initiate online meetings. What is the advantage of this? Can we cast our mind back to 2019 when you have people say we are supposed to form a quorum of 10 people? What happened? He's stuck in traffic. He had a fault. He had an issue in his house. When you schedule online meetings through platforms like Zoom or Google or Skype, you will find out that people in their houses can log in. People in their cars can log in. Even those shopping in the supermarkets can log in on their phones, their laptops, and other devices. When you schedule these meetings for 3 o'clock, they are there by 3 o'clock. There's no reason of your car being broken down. If it's broken down, you stay in that car, you log in, you have the meeting. And what does that do? Everybody forms a quorum, the meeting goes on, and you achieve what you want to achieve. Make use of electronic letterheads. You want to send the pitch out, you want to write letters to people. Authorize certain staff, your secretaries or those that have the authority to have the electronic letterheads on their laptops. You do your letters, type the letters on the letterhead, send it electronically to the boss, to the person that is approved to sign off. The approver authorizes the letter by signing off electronically, and then the letter is dispatched via email to the customer. This is not the time to say the admin person locked the cupboard, we can't find the letterhead. The printer has network problems, we cannot print letterhead, we cannot print letters. Go IT, go online. Authorize those in the office that require the e-letterheads. Let them have it in their systems. Do your letters on your letterheads. Send it to the authorizer. The authorizer will append his electronic signature on that letter, and the letter is sent out to the beneficiary. Isn't that easy? Use electronic repositories to save all the files you get. As long as you're working online, you will definitely get a lot of messages on emails, in your office mails. And of course, there will be a lot of documents sent to you. We expect that these documents are going to be filed in cloud-based repositories and folders. This is exactly the same thing as opening that cabinet in the office, opening up a file, putting it, stapling it, or clipping it. This does not mean you shouldn't have your physical files or documents. But electronically, 2 or 3 people can have it right there on their screen. Whatever you require, the MD requires this, the ED requires that, the GM requires that. Click onto your electronic cloud-based files, open it up, and send a mail. It's that easy. Monitor your staff using time inputs. When you clock in, you enter the system, you clock in. Anthony came in at 8:05. Anthony came in at 12:15. Onama came in at this time. You can tell those that have logged in and those that log out. Invest in technology. The truth is, a lot of things we are doing now, we are done by many other countries 10, 20 years back. In a documentary on CNN, I watched a restaurant serve food. The customers come out there, there's free Wi-Fi. You enter their site, the food is stated there. You pick the food by touching your screen on your phone. You send the message. The chef or the person that is attending to you is right at the window. When you send it, you give a sign that you've sent it. They look at the food, they go to the kitchen, they prepare it, take away, slide it through a tray, you take your food and you walk out. No contact. It was purely done online. So there's no issue of he didn't pay me, I didn't have change. You ordered for your food, you made the payment online, you got your food, you took your takeaway, and you're out. Invest in technology. This is a very important strategy for practically every business, from supermarket owners to cleaners, to banks, to oil and gas firms, and what have you. Now let's move further and look at other strategies. Outsourcing. Consider outsourcing some of the things you do. I will give you live examples, even though there are arguments for and against outsourcing as a strategy for survival. Some may say it costs, but let's look at the admin advantage. The core advantage is that when you outsource, you have delegated a large chunk of your business to somebody and you have paid a fixed price for it. Let's take an example of those that have 10 cars and 10 drivers. You get a company that outsources. For every point in time you need a car, you make a phone call and in 5 minutes the car comes. This is not a case of the driver had a problem with his flat tire, the driver's car had a problem, the driver didn't come to work early. You have already designated and outsourced this business part of your business to XYZ Limited. XYZ Limited, we need the marketer to go out by 2:20. At 2:10, the terms are that in 10 minutes before your person goes out, or 30 minutes, the car is there. You make one phone call, the car arrives with the driver, you go and do what you have to do, and you come back. That responsibility is not yours. You take it away from you. And you know that it is fixed at a certain price, so that at the end of the week or end of the month, you simply pay that outsourced company what they are due. Take example of a supermarket. You have cleaners. You have those that do other duties. Outsource your cleaners. The company that has cleaners will bring in your cleaners. If you look at your aisles, aisle 1, 2, 3 have cleaners. Aisle 4 and aisle 5 do not have cleaners. Call the company. We need your cleaners in aisle 4 and 5. We cannot find them. In a few minutes, the cleaners come and business continues. You outsource these things and free yourself so you can concentrate on your business. It is a good strategy when you outsource. It helps you fix your price and you can plan your financials effectively. It also helps to manage anything that has to do with business interruption. Now, customer retention. For those who are very familiar with the Pareto rule, the Pareto rule states that 20% of your loyal customers give you 80% of your revenue. So it is important that out of those 100 customers, look for your core loyal customers that are always there, that come to your office regularly, that call in regularly, they send their drivers in regularly and patronize you. Give them incentives. Call them deliberately. Find out what is happening to them within this pandemic period. Surprise them with gifts. I'll give you a live example again. If you have a company that, for instance, sells tools for working, or let's even use a very simple example, cement. So your customer comes every month and buys 100 bags of cement. You know this is a loyal customer. While looking for other customers this period, call up that customer, find out his wife's birthday, his children's birthday, surprise them with the gifts. Their children will not forget that company. The wife will not forget that company. In fact, they're going to ask you next month, when are you going to collect cement from this company again? It keeps your name in their mind. You can do customer surveys using these loyal customers, and they will tell you the truth. Remember that a customer that expresses his appreciation or his anger or her anger is a customer that cares about your company or your organization. If you do not have a complaint from a customer, then the customer has accepted the below par service they got and simply quietly walked out to another company to get that same service. When you hear a customer say, I ordered for this, it took you 10 minutes to bring it, why not 5 minutes or 3 minutes? And you apologize, you are very sorry, sir, next time it's not going to happen. What that customer has done is, he has expressed himself, she has expressed herself, and given you cause to look at that aspect of your business. Your turnaround time is not good. The customer has shown that, I like your business, but these are the places that you are not doing well. So do your customer service, they will tell you the truth. I will give you an example again. A dry cleaning service called a customer during the pandemic and asked a very funny question. Madam, do you have customers that have done weddings or that did ceremonies? And the customer was taken aback. But what was that organization trying to do? They were trying to find out, if you have these customers, direct them to us. What are they doing? You are their 20% that gives them the 80% revenue. So you, that 20%, will simply say, oh yes, I know Mr. Chinedu, I know Mr. Ahmed, I know Mr. Alfred. Here are their numbers. Call them up. You use those numbers, call those customers up, and expand your customer base. Why? Because you have taken the strategy of retaining your customers. I did a sample while doing this study with different sectors. And I have a company that is in the freight forwarding business, what we all call the container business. And I asked them, within this period, what have you done to retain your, to reposition yourself? You know, imports were hit by this. And they said, oh, it's very simple. Having realized that because of the pandemic, there was long queues of containers. Our customers had their own containers there. But we found out that because of the long queues, service time and bringing out the containers took quite a while. They called those customers and said, we can give you this service. And the customers were happy because these people called them personally and said, we are willing to do this and that for you to take you off that long queue. So please retain the customers you have. While it is important to get new customers, do not leave the ones you have and chase the ones you do not have without retaining those ones you have. Now we go to diversification. We have seen this a lot this period, even though some businesses have not considered it, maybe for the fear of what they may expend to achieve this. Now, a typical example again. I called the supermarkets during this study for this repositioning. And I asked them if I could come if they had closed. This was at 5 minutes to 9 p.m. They said they had not closed. My assumption was that they usually close at 9, which was the form that what used to happen, what used to obtain before. I got there, and what did I see? A man was selling barbecue right in front of them, what you would call our suya man. Another person was selling fruits and vegetables. The minute I got to front of that supermarket, I realized I needed to buy citrus products. So I bought lime and I bought oranges. I bought that and I walked into the supermarket, only to find them actively working. And I've asked them, don't you close at 9? They said, no, they've extended it to 10. That because the suya person or the barbecue person and the person selling vegetables have customers that come back at night and buy those products and walk into their supermarkets, they decided to extend their time by diversifying those products. So now, aside from the supermarkets, they have vegetables they sell, they have barbecue that they sell, and customers, because of these diversified products, are now walking into that supermarket even more than they used to before. These are ways of diversifying your business. Now, let me go back to the company that is a freight forwarding company. When they found out that there was a long queue and their customers were beginning to accrue demurrage on their containers, what they did is they said, look, we have consulting services. Tell me what your issues are. So instead of just clearing container and waiting for it to get to where it's supposed to, they started going the extra mile, diversifying their services, and getting out these containers based on the people that they knew at the wharf. And the customers are very satisfied because apart from just paying their duties and getting the containers, they also did consultancy services and tried to push out these containers on time, knowing that your customers, the longer they stay, the more demurrage that they are going to incur. And with demurrage comes increased cost. With increased cost comes reduction in profitability for these customers. So while they are looking at other strategies, especially the financial one, also look at your diversification, also look at your re-strategizing, also look at your customer retention, which is very key. Also look at technology. A lot of people have realized that investment in time to look at your financials and investment in time to put more into technology have worked out well for them. Business owners, reevaluate your existing strategies. Invest in technology. Focus on your financial position. Consider outsourcing. Retain your customers. This is very key. Retain your customers. Even banks go to accounts that are dormant and reactivate those accounts to retain those customers. Diversify your products. It makes your customers look out for new things that will bring them closer and more to you. to increase your customer base, to increase your profitability, and to give your business a better outlook. Now, just to end, I would like to share a personal mantra of mine, which states that, for me, this is a personal saying. Every time I look at my hands, which I used to work on my laptop and do different things, I have a belief that the 5 fingers on my hands represent 5 pillars of our lives that hold us together. The academic life, the social life, the work life, your spiritual life, and your love and marital life. Each time I look at my fingers, these are the things I remember, and I ask myself, have I balanced myself? Have I prayed today? Have I looked at those I love? Have I called them to know if they are alive in this pandemic period? During my work life, have I skewed more into the love marital life and forgotten about my work life? In my social life, human beings are not meant to be solitary. We are born to exist around people. Have I socialized with people? So this is a personal belief of mine, which I just wanted to share with everybody, so that each time you look at your hands and look at your 5 fingers, remember these 5 pillars of your life. As we round up, we're getting close to the end. I would like to end here by asking if you began this session with the end in mind. And as we come to the end, I ask if you have been able to attain some good knowledge of how to reposition your business within this COVID-19 era. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thank you so much. I'll be handing over to Onama to handle us on the moderating session, the Q&A session. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, Chris. Thank you, Anthony. It's a very insightful session. You have a couple of questions here waiting. We start with Oyindamon. Hello, can you hear me?
Good afternoon.
Can you hear me?
Hello, good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Sorry, my name is.
Good afternoon. Yes, please.
Yeah, I don't know. I joined very late because of the network. I don't know if the man can even summarize it for us. The lecture.
Sorry, please introduce your name and.
Otumba Yemi Awodipe.
Thank you, Otumba Yemi Awodipe. He has actually summarized it, but if you're interested, we can send you a link. We are actually in question time. He has actually summarized everything. So if you're interested, you send the you click on the link.
We'll send you the recording link.
I think Otumba Yemi.
Thank you very much, Miss Anna. You just took it from me. Let me quickly say this. My name is Dr. Adobe Ariguzo, the program director. I want to all let you know that you would have an opportunity to get this after the session, please. Please, Anna, I hand over to you. Please continue. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Dr. Ariguzo. Now we have a question, Anthony, for you from Oyinlola, asking what sort of services can we diversify into? Somebody providing services for a media service, how would they diversify? But Oyinlola, you didn't say what aspect of media services that you're providing for. You know, media includes print media, electronic media. I think maybe if you actually...
Good afternoon. Good afternoon, ma. Good afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon.
So what I was asking was, for the media that I do is actually offline media, which is out of home, radio, TV, press, and a bit of digital. So most times I hear you don't stick to, like he mentioned today, that businesses should diversify and don't just concentrate on one thing. And I know that that is true. But for a situation where this is all I've been doing and no other experience in any other thing, if he's to advise that, okay, if I want to use my media skills and marketing skills, what other business can you diversify into? Because from everything I listened to today, he was majorly as if they were addressing people that deal a lot with customers. And in my line of work, we rarely deal with customers. It's mostly services that we provide. So that's my question.
Okay, Lola. Thank you very much for your question. I'm going to pick out a line of what you just said. You provide services. Who do you provide services to?
Let me just use a company as example, Paga.
Okay.
Financial solution.
Which means that you have a customer, right? Now, diversification comes from your strategies, which is why the first strategy I put there was reevaluate your strategies. So it's now left for you in your industry to sit down and strategize. Who are the people I give services to? You must identify your customers. Even a roadside person whom we describe as a vulcanizer, he has customers. Who are his customers? People that have tires that are almost flat. So you need to, first of all, identify your customers. When you have identified your customers, ask yourself, this is what I do as a media person. Is there any other thing, either media related or not media related, that may skew them towards media? Let's take the example of the supermarket I mentioned. They didn't have fruits and vegetables. They didn't have barbecue, but they realized that if we bring these people we don't have, they will bring people to our shop. So they called them and gave them spaces based on their strategy and say, you stay on this space, you stay on this space. As your customers come, tell them that we are still open. So it now depends on your company strategies. You have to, on your own, clarify and find out who exactly your customers are. You used a word, you said Paga. Paga does a lot of services to so many people. Ask yourself, Paga, all the people you give services to, what do they do? Find out the sectors they are in. Paga services, oil sector people, banking sector people, people in fashion, people in different industries. Write down those industries and find out what can I do for every person in this industry. And you will find out that in that your strategy session, you will definitely bring about 1 or 2 ways to diversify your services from people like Paga to the endpoints or the eventual beneficiaries of Paga products. Thank you. I can't hear.
Anna, please, you're muted.
Can we hear?
Yes, I can hear you. Can everybody hear me? We have a student asking another second question, but it was sent by the program director. My company received funding from abroad, and we have to pay back over time before the COVID-19 scenario. And now with the current situation, it's difficult to remit these funds due to the terrible exchange rate. I am told that I can purchase these funds through the CBN at a good rate if the funds came in through capital importation. Is this correct? Yeah, the answer is, of course, it is correct. But you also put a caveat. Now, the question is, what do you advise as the current exchange rate is killing? He had already answered part of the question. If the funds came in as capital importation, and if he did not, Mr. Anthony, can you please help out with this question, Mr. Mosu?
Okay, thank you, Ona. Thank you for the question again. These are the kind of questions that we expect every SME to ask their bankers. My advice initially was call for a formal meeting. Don't make it informal. Don't just send a chat. Call for a formal meeting on phone. You don't have to go physically. Ask them, please give me a list of every regulation there is today, not just about the effects. But if we have to be specific about what you asked, currently, we know that there is the I&E window, there is the official market, and there is the black market. As we speak, the black market is trading 490 and above. The official rate is 410, and there's the I&E window. For the people that brought in funds as cash deposits into their accounts, there are certain banks that have these services. In fact, I've spoken to a bank today that have such services. So talk to your bankers, let them advise you as it is. If they don't have the service, they will tell you who has that service. Those banks are opening accounts for individuals. When you talk to them, there's a way they do those services and they will provide those services to you. But like I advise, and I'll continue to advise everybody, seek knowledge, seek information. As we speak, there will be another monetary policy committee meeting going to happen in a few weeks. And there may be policy changes again. So be on the lookout for that. But please talk to whoever you bank with specifically. Because while the central bank brings out their policies, the banks also may go with those policies, but tweak it a little bit here and a little bit there to suit their customers, but remain in line with the central bank policies so they do not contravene. Thank you.
Okay, we have Emmanuel Egureljo wants to ask a question, but I also want to add to what Anthony has said. If you want to get the full composite of CBN circular, you can go to CBN website and key in the particular aspect you want. And the CBN website is sembank.org, sembank.org. When you get there, you can key in foreign exchange, monetary policy, and it gives you the list of all the circulars. So while you're also discussing with your bankers, you might as well want to explore that option too. Then you can seek further interpretation and analysis from your bankers. LinkedIn profile here was advertised. You can send us emails or chats. So we have somebody that wants to ask a question. Emmanuel Egureljo. Emmanuel, please.
Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Thanks, Mr. Anthony, for the session. I'm just trying to see how to draw that line between diversification and innovation. So I don't know if you can help with that. So for SMEs to go into diversification, ordinarily, I mean, the first thing that comes to an average man's mind is when you talk about diversification, it means money. Yeah, but most times it might not just mean that you need to get additional capital. It's just to do something a little different. It could be in terms of behavior. So do we say that innovation covers, innovation is one of the strategies we might just want to look at alongside the diversification?
Yes, Emmanuel, you are very correct. Remember that in our session, I had mentioned that we picked 6 strategies, which are not exhaustive, but every other strategy in one way or the other is related to those strategies. And you've just proven what I said. Innovation is related to diversification. So you are right. Thanks.
All right, thank you so much.
Okay, do you have questions? Any more questions, please?
You have 2 more minutes.
2 more minutes. Any questions?
Yeah, I think I also particularly like your discussions around the funding. I mean, recapitalizing your business. You could go to a bank. There are various sources of funding. And I think one of those that most people don't always look at is the simple credit that you get from suppliers. It's an easy source of funds. I have a few customers who trade on credit from their suppliers and quickly turn over the cash and get back their money. So without investing cash itself, they just quickly trade somebody's stock and then get some profit. And then with integrity, they return back what they have collected. So I think it's one source of funding too for SMEs as well.
Thank you, Emmanuel. That's a very good source of funding. The watchword is think outside the box. Don't only look at the points. There are so many financial institutions. Even there are people that have grown their business from point A to point C, D, E, just by using a microfinance bank. Many people do not understand the power of finance. When you do, you realize. I once told a person whom I was consulting for that the license a bank holds is a license that has to do with the word trust. Why? Because the bank is holding your funds, is giving you financial advisory services. Therefore, that particular license has a power within it. But many people do not understand the power of financing. They are so scared to take loans because they feel they may not pay back. But the truth is that when you do your business and focus on that business, not that you get the money and divert it, and you do the right strategies and follow those strategies, you will find out that you will succeed. There's a saying that when you do something continuously, it becomes part of you. If I borrowed 200,000 to start a business and I did well, and it is increased and rolled over and increased to 400,000 and I do well, it becomes part of me because I have devised a strategy to use the funding and do very well. And the institution that gave me these funds will be glad to give me that funding again. If we have to go back to credits, they talk about the 5 C's of credit. Character is the first. Character is the first, aside condition, collateral, and all the other things. By the way, people have also not realized that the collateral for a facility, loan facility, is not what the banks are looking out for or what your financiers are looking out for. They are looking out for the good part of your business, the profitability in your business, the good health of your business. They are not after a collateral. The collateral is the very last resort after carefully going through every other means for a repayment. So yes, financing important, think outside the box, get various people that can finance for you. You'll be shocked how many people out there have money. You'll be shocked how many alliances are going on as we speak. In the last 3 months, a lot of alliances have happened between different companies. Only yesterday, I learned that a bank has a strong alliance with a very popular company we know of today. Many people don't even know that. So it's very important. That's why I said re-strategize. You need to reevaluate your strategies. And what Emmanuel has mentioned is a very important strategy, the power of using funding to give yourself liquidity.
Okay, thank you very much, Anthony, for the presentation. Very well articulated. And thank you, everybody, for joining us today. A series of a session. I'm sure you'll be prompted when the next webinar is going to come up. So I will hand over to Chris to round up this presentation. Thank you. Cheers. Bye-bye.
Right. Thank you so much, Anna. Thank you so much, Mr. Anthony. This is, wow, a very wonderful presentation. And I'm sure that I'm not the only person that is wowing about this. This is wonderful. So thank you so much for having us today. And to everyone who joined us today, we really appreciate you for joining us. And I believe that everyone has learned one thing or another. I can see the comments coming in from the link that was shared for those who are interested in the recording, the cloud recording and slides of today's webinar event. Be rest assured that it will get to you as soon as possible. So I would like to hand over to Dr. Adobe, our able doctor, to make a speech, a closing remark for us. Thank you very much. You can join us, please.
Thank you. Good afternoon, executive students and our visitors here present. I want to thank all of you who have made our time at this point to attend to this event. First things first, I bring greetings for our head, the Dean of Rome Business School, Professor Antonio Ragusa, and also special greetings from my country director who is here present, but just had to quickly attend. Hello?
We can hear you now.
I apologize. I gathered that I kind of cut off a bit. Okay, so I was bringing greetings from the owner of Rome Business School, the Dean of Rome Business School, that is Professor Antonio Ragusa, and from our country director, Dr. Humphrey Akanazu. I stand as the program director to thank Mr. Anthony Nwosu and Mrs. Anna. You both together did the beautiful justice to this whole topic. In fact, it gave us a lot of insights, especially to the financial part. And I know that many of our students are actually blessed by this information and will be able to improve their businesses, particularly when you were talking about the fact that finance remains the lifeblood and we must continually watch this. I want to welcome everybody to Rome Business School. This is a place we groom better managers for better world. We have various programs currently on. This is the month where we have just taken in the March intake. However, we still have slots for students who wish to take come on the program. So for all those who are going to be able to make their payments before the 1st of April, they are going to enjoy additional discounts. They would need to speak with their advisors to know what will be available for them. And I'm trusting that if you make your payments in time, I'm going to promise you that you're going to be to take this opportunity to come on board. I'll say a very big thank you to everyone. We have different programs, our executive MBA, we have entrepreneurship and innovation, for which this is a major input for. We have the international human resources management. We have the marketing and sales. We have marketing and communication. We have the agribusiness, and most importantly, data science management. I need to also mention on board that we have the doctorate in business administration with our partners in Russia. So please make sure you take out time and try and come on board, because we have very, very limited opportunities. I want to say a big thank you to all of you once again at this time. Thank you. Chris, I hand over to you again.
All right, thank you so much, Doctor. We really appreciate. For those that are online, we would like you to share your screen so we can take a photograph, please. If you're online, please just share your screen. We want to take a photograph. All right, so I'll see the signal is cheese. So when I say cheese, everyone says cheese, okay? A minute, please. All right. So everyone say cheese.
Cheese.
Oh, thank you so much. Okay, I can see some people are just on in there. A little patience. Let me take it one more. All right. Okay, Kingsley, we are waiting for you. Kingsley Owari. Edwin. Okay, yeah. Just one more person. Kingsley. All right. Everyone is up. All right, say cheese.
Cheese.
Yeah, wonderful. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. Please do take your time to fill the form that was provided in the chat room if you want the recording for today's webinar series. And I hope you join us for future events. Be looking forward to having you again. Thank you so much, Mr. Anthony Nwosu. Thank you to our beautiful Onama. We really appreciate you for all that you've done, how you were able to moderate the event so wonderfully. And Mr. Anthony, you really answered the question so well. So we really appreciate you. And to all our executive students, we appreciate you. And we hope to see more of you. Thank you so much, and do have a lovely Easter break. Have a nice day.
Have a nice day. Bye.
You can leave the room, please.
Bye. Bye.